Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Candlepower Hour, fueled by ElectraCast Media at electracast.com. Tonight, we have a very interesting and informative show and guest who is here to entertain the hell out of us. Not only do we dive deep into the underworld of goth, industrial, and death rock again, we are also calling out the guitar world. Attention guitar players, bassists, and all musicians from all walks of life and music genres. Grab a beer, pop water, whatever floats your throat. We welcome legendary guitar player, songwriter, composer, music industry executive, and president of Schecter Guitars, Mr. Michael Ciravolo, to the show. Welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you.
Welcome. Thank you very much, guys. You couldn't find any more things to stack up behind my name.
Oh man, we could stack up a gang.
Goth.
This is great.
I'll try to live up to all that.
Let's we got a lot to talk about because not only are you a composer, you're in the gothic world, but you're also an executive. So there are two different worlds that you sort of share and blend, which could be. There's a lot of questions we have about that too. So, but let's start with your artwork, your music. And where
let's take it back from the beginning.
Yeah, let's
take it back from the beginning. So you're from New Orleans.
Yeah, born and raised there.
So what was that like?
You know, I think now looking back and going back to my hometown, it's a fucking great city. But when you grow up, you always think, I always thought New York was the place. It's like when we grew up there, New Orleans wasn't like this hub. It didn't really become like when Nine Inch Nails moved there and Marilyn Manson and that whole scene, it suddenly came on the map. But when we lived there, we just felt like we had to get out. But now I go back and it's like the architecture, just the musicians, like they're natural. Like you could walk by and see a little kid on the street beating on a upside down bucket, and it's just this rhythm. And I think as I got older, I kind of appreciate my city. I wish I did more when I grew up, but I sure love it.
When you hear New Orleans, you really think about it's a very musical city, but it's also like a very magical, occult-driven city. Do you think that's kind of what drew you to, the goth scene?
It certainly has its dark, seedy underground. Yeah, I think there is that subculture there. The architecture being very, so many of the buildings in the French Quarter are like the mid 1700s. It's almost like Transylvania in the United States.
What about the religions that were a part of the New Orleans culture? That is kind of a good question. The voodoo and the Santeria.
The voodoo.
Was that, were you in downtown growing up as a kid, or were you on the outskirts? Were you a part of that?
I was right in Midtown, right, right at the foot of Canal Street, which led to the French Quarter. I was raised Catholic. There is that heavy Catholic influence a lot because of especially in the Italian culture. But I think as you get in, towards the French Quarter, you really start seeing like Marie Laveau's museum and like some of the old convents and things like that. So there is that occult side of it. And I definitely knew some people growing up, especially young ladies that claimed their dads were vampires and things like that. And I don't know if it was a shtick or if it was real, but there's something there. There's certainly a vibe and a mood that I don't think you see anyplace else.
What about Catholic school? Being a part of Catholic school, the other Gothic artists we have found out have been inspired by their Catholic school experiences.
I think I call myself a Christian now. And I think when I grew up, I think Catholic, I don't know, that whole pomp and circumstance and everything, I think it really turned me off of the religious aspect. There was always this thing of, especially you read now, just like the pedophilia and incest and rape and stuff that runs in that. I think I don't pray to that God. That's for
right.
Sure.
Well, I went to Catholic school myself, and it did turn me away from it in a bit. So you learn things.
Yeah, it's a tough up. I mean, going to an all boys school. I don't think I would ever do that again.
Right.
But it did push me to get out. I think it pushed me. I went to an all boys school because I wanted to play football up until I was 14. That was going to be my world until I saw like T-Rex, Slade, Kiss, Bowie, stuff like that, New York Dolls on TV, and picked up a guitar. And I kind of seemed like I learned real quick that girls like guys playing guitar more than throwing a football.
Nice. Were you in
I know it's very adolescent and juvenile, but I mean, I think anybody that picked up guitar and goes, I picked it up because, I wanted to be I mean, maybe there are people like that. I picked it up because girls like guys in bands.
Hey, you're being honest, because I agree wholeheartedly. And congratulations. Were you in high school when you took up the guitar and started playing, or?
Probably I started in 8th grade, dabbling in it. I definitely not a natural musician. My parents were not musicians. There wasn't a ton of music in my house. I came along late in my parents' life, so my brother had already moved out and was married. My sister, who was 17 years older than me, was like a big Beatles fan, so I caught a bit of that from her. But it was self-taught, watching it on TV. I don't know if it wouldn't have been for those late night, rock shows and seeing Mark Bolan with the guitar and the hair and pouty lips and
right.
I was definitely influenced by the English scene and also like the New York stuff. Kiss, New York Dolls. New York Dolls was a big influence on me.
So there was you had some
that record home.
There was self-discovery too. Sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was saying I bought the first New York Dolls record and they were in drag in the cover, and I brought it home and Mom's like, you can't keep that. You have to bring that back. And I kind of outsmarted her because I went and I recorded it on a cassette and then brought it back, and I got the second Dolls record that they were a little less,
evocative.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, you can keep that one.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Then I brought Kiss home and Bowie and stuff like that, and it was just like, I love my parents. They're not with me anymore, but they were always supportive. I couldn't ask for a better upbringing.
Well, awesome. That's great. I do have a question about the New York Dolls. When you got into your music and started growing up and moving on, you came to L.A. What made you come to L.A. versus going to New York to pursue the glam world and the goth world out there?
We had our band before we turned the name to Human Drama. We were called the Models. And we had an attorney in New York, so we would pack up a van and pull a trailer, drive, I think it was 2,800 miles to go showcase in New York. And we drive up there and we played CBGBs, we played Tracks, we played Gildersleeves, played L'Amours, all those clubs that you were supposed to showcase at. And it's a lot of pressure to go do one show, to all that travel to get up there and kind of base everything off of that one show. And we just never hit it out the park on the one thing. And then we kind of realized that we had to pick one place. We had to either move to New York or Los Angeles. And being that we had traveled to New York probably a half dozen times, we just said, fuck it, let's try something new. We had met, honestly, the really thing that pushed it over, there was a band that came to New Orleans that a friend of ours was booking, and they were called Candy, which later, actually Candy was Gilby Clarke was in the band, and Gilby went on to be in Guns N' Roses, and Jonathan Daniels became a very successful manager. But they came there and they were like, hey, you guys should come to Los Angeles. We can help you get shows and everything. So we're just naive 20-year-olds, and we was like, okay, we'll go to Los Angeles.
Nice.
And we upped and moved out here and haven't turned back.
Right. Well, awesome. Welcome to LA. What was the goth scene like in LA for you when you got here, or what was the scene like? How did you discover it?
It was, I look back and it was cool because we got here right late 85, and there was a really great dark wave scene here with a club called Scream that just had all the bands. It was a cool old gigantic building, very, very gothic looking. But at the same time, the hair metal bands were taking off. So there was this scene of, you'd go down, we'd go flyer, the Sunset Strip, and you'd see guys in Poison and Crew and all that. And there wasn't this animosity. It was just people in bands, and the thing I always see about the goth world is I think most bands and people that are in that genre, and again, like I was saying before we came on, that I always thought lyrics, artwork, those things were important to that, where all the other genres that jumped, like I would see guys that one week were in like the third generation hair bands, like, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, those bands got signed, and then the labels started signing second tier. Oh, we're going to get Cinderella, we're going to get this, and every label had to try to find that, and it was like the third tier bands. And when that just kind of finally ran its course, you would see those guys that had the big blonde mane, like you'd run into them in a club, and then suddenly they were wearing flannel and had cornrows in their hair, and they went to, it was Seattle, or they were in a rap rock band. It was just like, I just never felt like jumping, like I'm going to change. I look the way I am, right or good or bad, and have stuck with that. I've never felt like it was true to change, like to try to be something. Like, I'm going to try this now. I'm going to be this because I want to get this almighty record deal, and
Well,
basically, it's not a phase, Mom.
it's not a phase.
I don't think I could say it better, but yeah, I saw a lot of phases, and you can't. It's like you can laugh at it, but I guess I can't fault somebody for trying, but for being in this business, and then with the Schecter thing, and seeing that getting a record deal is not the be all end all. The idea it's like it kind of reeked of desperation. Like, I'm going to try whatever, it is to make it. And that happened a lot out here in Los Angeles.
It happened in a very profound way. I was here. I was here when all that happened. Our band got signed to a big deal. But then we saw how the hair bands took over Hollywood. We saw how the culture shifted. Here comes Nirvana, Jane's Addiction, to change the whole world. The record industry changed. So I get it. And I'm also somebody who always relies on lyrics, product, the great album. I'm somebody who loves to hold a great rock album. And I think that's what happened in the late 80s. We stopped delivering great rock albums for a brief moment, and then they came back. So, like you said, I agree with you. Lyrics are everything.
I find it weird how people nowadays will like trending songs or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, I don't know, I don't really like that song because it's too depressing for me. And they're like, oh, I don't know, I never listened to the lyrics, I like the beat. And I'm like, isn't the point of the song like the lyrics and the music, like the whole thing? Like, I don't understand that.
You would hope that's the point. It's changed to I think people's attention span is for shit nowadays. I've even, my wife and I have two daughters, and they're in their mid-20s, early and mid-20s, and I'll kind of like watch them listen to something, and I'll be driving with my youngest, Sophia, and there's a song on, she's either got a playlist or Spotify going, and then she changes it. And I had just seen her kind of singing it and everything, and halfway through, I'm going, did you not like it? No, I love that song. And it's like, well, why'd you change it? Oh, I saw what was coming up next. And it's just like, I don't know. I still go back, and it dates myself, but looking at Disintegration or Dark Side of the Moon or something like that's a piece of art. That's a record you put on and you don't skip around. You don't play one song and then I don't know. It's meant, and I don't know if people are making records like that anymore. That's meant, and I don't know if people have the attention span. When we started Beauty and Chaos, and I was adamant about everything being on vinyl, and I really hope there's this romantic notion of someone giving something we do at least one uninterrupted listen. Because God, I spend the time, and it's my choosing, but what song goes into the next one? What songs, I always go, what should be the needle drop song? How do I want this record to start? And then just as important to me is the closing. How do I want it to, the finale? How do I want it to go out? And then it kind of, everything else in between kind of comes together. And, like you were talking about, that romantic notion of picking up an album and holding it. It's this 12-inch piece of vinyl. And, back when that was the only way to find out anything about the band, is what they put in there or what a journalist may ask them. Now, everybody knows everything, and I don't always know if that's a great thing, but right now, it's to me, it's as long as I'm happy with what we do and what the singer that's involved with that song, that's it. I know I got off topic, but
no, not at all. No,
I get wound up about the way people listen to and the value or the lack of value placed on music nowadays.
Well, that's, I think, what is wrong with the music today is, like you said, we back in the day used to create a work of art being an LP, a long playing album, and the needle drop song, what's the content, what's the last song, the artwork, the liner notes. As kids, we would just stare at the album cover, the inner sleeve, read it 10 times over as you're listening to the album. You want to create that piece of artwork as an entire full-length album. Like you said, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, Disintegration. These are stories. These are rock operas. Somebody doesn't even realize, rock
these are
albums.
These are albums that I feel like I have to listen to in order.
Yeah, you wouldn't skip that. You wouldn't, and I think that started, as much as we still do stuff on CDs. I look back to the time that CDs were coming out in that shuffle feature. I think that's evil. It's like
killed it.
That's not meant to go before that. It's evil. And I think when you look back from a band and when something became a CD, you can put 78 minutes of music on that. And even though now Beauty and Chaos, we cram it full, but when bands were used to making an album and going, Ramon records of 38 minutes. When you tell a band, you basically have to fill, hey, this medium is 78 minutes. Songs that probably wouldn't have made it on an album started getting put on an album. So I think that started diluting it. And now, there's so much music. I think, I don't know what the figure is. It's probably fucking stupid, like how much music is released in a week now. And, you go back, when I was a kid, we had 3 TV channels, Now I'm sure people find you have 500, and I think you sit there and you still go, I don't know what I want to fucking watch.
With a billion shows, you still get frustrated and pissed off because there's nothing on TV.
Well, it's because you get overwhelmed at the options, so it's like a sensory overload thing.
Yeah, I do think that has hit the music industry. There's so much out there, and I guess as much as I complain about that technology, and it's easier to make music now, I think that does contribute to where people think that music is, oh, you do that on a computer, and you want to go, the fuck you think I do? Just type in, make Goth dark wave song, 130 BPM, go, and it spits it out. I think there's some people that just think, back when we do it, we used to have to save up for the 2-inch tape, and studio time was expensive, and now, but if we didn't have this technology, I couldn't do what we do with Beauty and Chaos, because half the singers, well, more than half the singers are not even in Los Angeles. They're around the world. So that technology was great, but the part where there's just overload, I think it becomes, a lot harder to find a gem, like to find that magic, like, wow, I didn't know about that band. And
well, let's talk about that. So you do a lot of remote recording.
Yes.
So what is that experience like compared to, the old school way of being there in person?
It's different, but I've come to embrace it. It's exciting to me because Michael Rozon and Michael's my partner in Beauty and Chaos. So we write the music, and then, I don't know, I've been told I have a gift or a knack, and sometimes I think it's just plain blind luck, but to match the right singer with this piece of music that we do. And I'll send it to someone. I'll tell them maybe the title of that I'm thinking about for the album, or I'll send them what we're thinking about for the artwork, and nothing more. All the singers do all their own lyrics. They do, and I send it out. And if it inspires someone, they go, "Hey, this is great. I'm working on it." And then that moment, I think I've described it like Christmas morning. You get an email back. It's like, if it was the old days, like AOL, bing, you got mail. And it's like, oh, fuck, I can't wait to hear this. And that moment of putting it on, because when we send it out, it's just a piece of music. To me, it doesn't have a name. It's a soundscape. And then when a singer gets it, and this piece of music motivates him or her to write about something or to feel something and open their mouth or put pen to paper, it's great. I don't know. I think that's really something that really keeps me wanting to do this surprise of going, wow, this is what we created. Now turn to this. It's called this. It's like corny, but like childbirth in a way. It's like, now it has a name. It's this. And I don't know. That's an amazing experience.
So like a lot of times the title of your song will come after the production, after it's all sort of pieced together. That's when sometimes you'll think, okay, let's call the song this, or
the singer pretty much names it.
Okay.
I mean, I think to date, Beauty and Chaos has had 26 or 27 different singers. A couple of them have come back on different albums. But yeah, it's collaborative, but in a different way. Mercury, like you were saying, in the old way, a band, we would get in a rehearsal room, play something, the singer would just start belting something out, or I would come in, or Johnny would come in, hey, I got a song that goes like this, and start singing it. Now it's a bit more, I don't know the word, it works, and I'm just blessed that it works. I don't know how.
You kind of Frankenstein it.
Well,
yeah, I think it's imagine if I sent it to you and you listen to it, and it just made you open your mouth and do something, or go, wow, this song makes me feel cold, and you start writing. Or, hey, they said the record was going to be called Dancing with Angels, which how our last studio was. It was inspired by a piece of art a friend of mine painted, which became the cover, which it was back there. And I just told that, and a couple of the singers on the record used the word angels in different way. I don't know. It all happens differently, but I guess at this point I don't question it. It just feels like it works.
Now,
was that specific art piece right there, the one behind you, the one with that angel for that album you were talking about, was that partially inspired by The Cure?
No, I know the girl Marin is a fan of The Cure, but I think if I remember what she told me, it was a dancing. She was looking at her fireplace, and the flame was doing like a dancing angel, and she said she was working on something called Fire Angel, and she sent that to me. And it was odd because I was actually thinking of calling the album Echoes and Angels, and it just fit. I don't know if it was inspired by The Cure. To me, it's a beautiful piece of art. and then she did the back like almost a painting from a reverse view, and it just to me it kind of tied the record together. To me that is the perfect cover for what that record feels like to me.
I have a question going back real quick about the songwriting process of the collaborating without being in a room. When you have an idea that somebody presented to you, but you want to make a change, it's like, oh, I love that way you're singing, but can you sing it like this, or can you try something different? Does that become a problem or an issue when you're bouncing tracks back and forth from city to city?
No, I mean, I can only think we've done 4 studio albums, and I think there's only been a couple of times that we made some suggestions. I think that comes, and again, I feel really blessed that we have some great singers and lyricists that are
awesome,
totally pros. Some of them are not famous. A couple of them are famous, but I've learned through this that fame does not necessarily equal talent, and talent sadly doesn't always equate to fame.
Yeah.
There's some singers that on all these records that I think should be mega, and everybody does it. No one makes money on this. That's not about it. No one's ever mentioned that because records don't sell. It's something that's really done to me for the right reason. The only way I can make music anymore is to make myself and make the people that we're doing it with happy. If anybody else comes along, I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
But I can listen to it and be proud of it. And so, yeah, it hasn't been a lot of that. I think anybody that says yes to being part of this kind of looks at the preceding work and go, wow, this is a high bar. I have to, Robin Zander from Cheap Trick saying, or Wayne from The Mission saying, I'm going to bring my A game. And no one, there's no like hokey, shitty lyrics, rock and roll party lyrics, or I don't know. It maybe that's from what the music evokes out of them. But I know something that's really different about this project, and for lack of another word, because it's not really a band. When I've done records with Human Drama and Gene Loves Jezebel, I always listen to it like I was in the band, and always, it was never to me like turning the radio on and hearing a song just how it is. I was always, the snare drum's this, or I wish I would have did this, or the guitar. It was always like kind of not listening to it as a listener, if that makes sense.
Your own critic.
Chaos, I put it on, and I forget that I had anything to do with it. It's like I'm a fan of the singer. I'm a fan of how Michael Rozon produces it, and I can look at it from above, listen from above, or just like I would put anybody's album on. And I still listen to our first record, and there's most anything else I've ever been on, I don't even listen to. My kids would go, Dad, you listen to yourself? And it's like, I don't look at it as being myself. I kind of forget that I even played on it or wrote it. And that's I think unique in music, and I'm happy and blessed that I can do it that way.
I think that's awesome. A question about cover tunes. I want to say that your version of Old Man by Human Drama, I think, is just beautiful and amazing. The Neil Young song that you did. What are cover tunes like to you? How important are they to an album project? Recognition. Do you feel that they're important, or
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, we did that in Human Drama, and I remember Johnny bringing. I didn't really like. I think he was a few years older than me, so he liked that. He liked Neil Young, and he liked Pink Floyd before I thought it was hippie music back when I was a kid. I'm like, listening to the Dolls or something like that.
Right.
But I thought we did that a really good version. I think that really brought some attention to Human Drama, and we've done a couple now in Beauty and Chaos. The first album we did 20th Century Boy, which I think that's one of the greatest rock guitar riffs ever. T-Rex is Mark Bolan's probably, besides Johnny Thunders, one of the reasons I picked up guitar. And we had Al Jourgensen from Ministry sing that. And then on this last record, we had Al come back and we did another T-Rex song. We did Children of Revolution. And I sang Open Your Eyes by Lords of the New Church. But one thing that was pretty great, there's definitely been some surreal moments in Beauty and Chaos. And both I've become good friends with Wayne Hussey from The Mission. And it turned out we both really cite Mark Bolan as an influence. And we had a chance to do another version of 20th Century Boy with Mark's son, Roland. So here we are sitting there, recorded it and shooting a video. Oh, look at him.
Oh, yeah. Here's Lulu.
Hi, Lulu.
Doing one of Mark Bolan's songs, one of my favorite songs ever, with his son singing. And then we ended and Roland just went, hey, because he was 2 when his dad died. So I don't think he even remembers him. But he goes, I think my dad would think this was really cool. And I think I'll always remember that kind of feeling, like, wow, that's pretty, that's surreal and pretty deep to have that feeling. So I think if covers mean something, if it's something you want to say, when we ended the last record and we did Children of the Revolution, which I really focused in on the lyric, you can't fool the children of the revolution. And I thought that went so well with Open Your Eyes, which the lyric was open your eyes, see the lies right in front of you. I stay the fuck out of politics in this. It's so divisive, so polarizing. I just thought both of those songs together was like, wanted to grab both sides of the aisle, left, right, red, blue, whatever the fuck they divide people, and go, these two lines mean so much. It's like, open your eyes, don't get fooled. And we did a cool video that was a blast to make. We did both songs back to back. We set up this chain link fence like the old Ministry set and had Al. We had people around it shaking the chains and climbing. And it was fun. We still managed, I think Beauty and Chaos is deep, but we still managed to have, I think, some elements of fun in it because we're not playing guitar. We're singing. It is supposed to be joyous. It is supposed to be fun, and I try not to get lost and take ourselves too serious.
Beauty and Chaos. Let's talk about that. Your first album was what was the name of the first album?
Finding Beauty and Chaos.
I'm sorry?
Finding Beauty and Chaos.
Finding Beauty in Chaos.
It was great. All those bands in the 80s, like Big Country, In a Big Country, Talk, did Talk. I was like, well, let's see if we can work that in the title. But actually, it was deeper than that. To me, I felt that was a name that I think encompassed, it allowed us to do a lot of different things. I think our songs do have bits of beauty and sometimes lots of chaos and noise and interference and fucked up stuff. And then there's a lot of songs that are beautiful or chaotic that'll just get to this part that's pretty. And I think it was just kind of a name that didn't pigeonhole us. And the reason it's got, that cover has Tish and I's daughters on the cover. It's like, I felt that, I think in everybody's life, their beauty is something, could be different, but we all have it, and we all have our chaos or our demons. And I think it's a positive thing, and I think it came from when one of the songs on that record that I think is probably one of the most, if not the most important song, was one I did with Ashton Knight, and it's called Storm. And he has this lyric in it that is, to me, profound. There is always a light. And I like to think that even in, something that's considered dark wave or goth, there's this undercurrent of positivity and that there is a light, and I think that fits so well with the name. And
I think that's
it is deeper than it comes off.
right. I want to ask you about your remixes, your reimagined tracks. So you've taken the album and you go back into the studio with the masters and you recreate them. And tell us a little bit about your reimagining.
So that happened again. A lot of things in Beauty and Chaos just happened. So this started by accident, and now it's rolled out into each of our records has a follow up like that. But this one, we were doing the first album, and it was kind of it. The reason I did the record was I was kind of unhappy with this human drama record we were doing. That we had kind of not broken up. We had retired. We said it was done, and then we played a couple of shows, and we talked about doing another album. And I felt I wanted it to go back to like that old man era of human drama. And Johnny, who's the singer and basically the leader of the band, I think really was past that and wanted it to be different. And I kept trying to force heavier guitar and more affected guitar, and it was just kind of clashing. So it was like my producer or the guy who was recording me, Michael Rosan, said, "Why don't you do your own album?" So it's like, okay, I'm going to do my own album. So for a short moment, it was going to be a solo album, and thank God that it spiraled into something beyond just a guitar player solo record. But I put this limitation on the record. The first album, I just said I was going to play all the guitar, not out of the ego. I just wanted to prove to myself I could do it. And there was going to be no synthesizers or keyboards. I wanted to create all the sounds with guitar. I think that's an interesting part to me about Beauty and Chaos. We use e-bows, violin bows, fuck-up guitars in different ways. So I met Tim Palmer through Wayne from The Mission, and Tim's done Bowie, Tin Machine, U2, The Cure, Tears for Fears. Like, his list goes on. Always one of my favorite producers. And I met him, and I asked, we had a couple of drinks. I went, all right, fuck it. I'm going to ask him. I said, hey, Tim, doing a couple of songs with Wayne, would you consider mixing? It's like, absolutely, mate. Send them to him. It's like, all right, fuck. Okay. So I sent them to Tim. And in my excitement, I didn't tell Tim, hey, my rules, these limitations I've put on this, good, bad, or indifferent, was no keyboards, and I'm playing guitar. So he sends the mixes back, and he's added guitar, and he's added keyboards. Really great parts. It's something he always does to it. And then I'm sitting here going, well, fuck, what do I do now? One of my favorite producers in the world. What do I go? Hey, Tim, the mix is great, but take your fucking guitars off of it. So it just came to me that maybe we do these reimagined, re-envisions. And it started kind of by a mistake. And it's not always us doing it. For the 90% of it is us sending it to, I know you had Mark Gemini Thwaite on. Mark has done some remixes. So basically, we would send the tracks to Mark and go, hey, have at it. Do what you want with it. Use as little of the original track or as much of it. And it's kind of turning over the keys to somebody and letting them run wild with it. There's remixes that all they use is the vocal. There's remixes that are completely the keys changed and vocals added. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's way different than I think when I would buy 12-inch dance mixes and stuff. It was just people putting a 4-on-the-floor dance and extended something. These get pretty much put in something, a shaker, and turned into something crazy different, which makes it interesting, I think.
Well, I find that I hear that a lot in the hip hop world. You'll have a song that's been transformed into something completely different with the masters. And there are many different versions. I think you mentioned Johnny Thunders earlier. I'm a big Thin Lizzy fan, big Phil Lynott fan. I know they two used to hang out and record together, but Phil Lynott also, he was known for having multiple versions of one song, an acoustic version, a heavier version, so many different. I've never been afraid of opening up those masters and just fucking it up. So I think that's great.
It's fun. I think sometimes people look at it as going self-indulgent, and it's art. I love it's letting somebody else, it's going, here's the painting, here's the colors I use, paint it a different way.
Well, you also got a lot of you got to let go of your ego too if you want to start heading into that direction. A lot of folks
absolutely.
don't, they don't want anybody to touch their music.
No, there's a beautiful thing about this thing is there is zero fucking ego. I think that's from maturity and
right.
And things like that. I think that's yeah.
Well,
and
there's got to be with how many people you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, and hell, I sit there and you talked about The Cure. It's like I got Roger O'Donnell, the keyboard player, like took one of the songs and did this whole Moog synth treatment to it. And it's absolutely beautiful. And it's
you see.
Yeah, and you have a huge list of artists that you collaborate with. So for somebody who wouldn't understand like how a collaborative band works, I mean, I know you get a lot of people to do different bits and pieces, but what about when it comes time to perform it? Like, how do you decide who's going to go on stage to perform that
big
song?
Tour?
We've never done that. And in the beginning, I'd never thought about this as a live thing. And now, as we're almost 6 years in, I start thinking, going, this would be a shame that this never goes on stage. And there's enough singers to actually do it now. It's just figuring the how. Well, the how is easy, but the where, I would hate to. I guess I'm so jaded, like going to shows in Los Angeles and seeing nobody give a shit. To me, and again, this is zero ego. If this went on stage, and God, coming out of my mouth, it sounds ego. I just think it deserves, with what this would take to put it on and the people, that it should be something bigger than I think is possible with the means that I have or what people look at for live stuff. But in the beginning, I had people going, well, you should do it and just have Ashton sing all the songs and have my wife Tish has sang 2 songs, let her do the girl songs. It's like, that fucking cheapens it. It should be the person, if I was ever to do it, it was going to be the person that sang it, performing it. And so your question, I hope we can do it one day. I would love to say we do it in New Orleans, Mexico City, Berlin, and London, or something, like if I just could snap my fingers. I think those audiences would probably appreciate it more. As you can see, I'm a bit anti-Los Angeles, even though I fucking live here. But
well, LA has its ups and downs, and its positives and its negatives.
Yeah.
So
You already sound like a native. Because only us native, Angelinos talk like that. Everyone else is like, wow, it's amazing.
Were you born here?
I was actually born out in Coachella, but I grew up since I was like 11 months old in LA.
Yeah, my wife's from like Northern California, but my kids were born here.
Let me ask you something. Your wife is from Northern California. Is she from San Francisco, Northern California, or Northern California?
No, probably not like Modesto, Madera.
Oh, okay. Central Cal. Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's
the Northern Californian folks, they don't even consider San Francisco Northern California.
So I met her. She was playing in an all-girl metal band.
Nice.
That's so far out of my wheelhouse. But a girl who was a friend of her was background singer in a band I was in, and she took me to do you remember the FM station?
Absolutely. We used to play that all the time.
That was, I think, the first and maybe only time, though I think I went to see her a second time there, being in there. So there I am in a black trench coat with all basic rock people, and
The
I met her
FM station,
there.
baby. Good times.
Yeah, it worked. It didn't seem like it would on paper.
Right.
But,
Hey, I want to also, for the folks who are listening to this podcast, you do have another side to you, which a lot of folks might not know, but you are the president of Schecter Guitars, and you have a whole corporate executive side to you. That's amazing. And how did you become established with Schecter? I know that you started out at Sunset Custom Guitars. Is that where it all began for you?
yeah, I mean, I worked at a music store in New Orleans when we moved out here. So, of course, when we came out here, we all had to get day jobs. So I immediately tried to find a music store. And Sunset Custom happened to be owned by a gentleman who recently passed away, Mr. Hisataki Shibuya, who owned Schecter and ESP guitars.
Our condolences.
Thank you. The guy put a lot of faith in me because I had no business school. I had 2 years of college. As soon as playing music, there was no other jump off point. It was that or nothing. And I just happened to be in the right place, right time. I always loved the idea of guitar and fucking around with it and painting them and changing shit. But I never, thought about doing anything like that. But being at that store, I would kind of see guys that come in that had platinum records that were selling guitars or pedals just to make rent. And it really started sinking in that this business isn't what you think when you're a kid. And I would have dolls and Bowie and Mick Ronson on my wall going, wow, if I sign this record deal, you're set. And I started really seeing behind the curtain and going, it's not really fucking pretty back there. And it just was right place, right time. And it kind of grew, when he gave me the job or to try it. I was the long-haired guy that, he thought I was crazy, but I don't know. He saw something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself. And it just worked.
Well, you took Schecter Guitars to a whole new level. And I would probably say that Schecter Guitars today is you and what you did by establishing a factory, starting to produce guitars and more guitars than you normally would in a month. So how did that all come about?
I mean, I have good people that work with me, and I'm not going to take all the credit myself. Nothing is done by yourself.
Understood.
I think the one thing, it's everybody that works is a musician.
Okay, that's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Really? Well. I mean,
you're gonna have office people or market. I don't know.
I guess but even our receptionist is a fucking great singer, and has done stuff with Schecter. I mean, with Beauty and Chaos. It's like, I think when you live and breathe something, I think you're better at what you do. I think everybody that assembles the guitars and helps with the design, it's from their heart. I think we allow people to go back out on tour. It's like, hey, my band's doing this. Can I get off? And it's like, I'm like, fuck yeah. You can get off, and hey, we're all going to come see you. Because
that's great.
when I moved out here, before I got the job at Sunset Custom, I was fucking cleaning carpets. And we would have a show, and I'm just praying that I was going to be able to finish these jobs in time to make it to sound check. And man, that's a horrible, horrible way when what I'm doing, cleaning carpets, meant absolutely fucking nothing. But all I can think about was I need to be at sound check. So we try to have the culture there that's not like that. And, it is a job. I mean, it's not always, I'm responsible for 60 people and their families. And, I have to try to make the right decisions, but you know, it's a great day job. It's put me where I've become friends with a lot of people. I wouldn't have met the guys in The Cure or the guys in The Mission or Robin from Cheap Trick. Some of these guys that were part of our albums, and I have people go, "Oh, they just did you. They just are on your record because you give them guitars." And it's like, you really think Simon Gallup has to have a fucking free bass that he would play on something that he didn't think was good? You know, I mean, I remember sending that track to Simon, and he said he knew Wayne. They grew up in England together, and he wrote me back going, "Hey, I can't get the song out my head. I'm working on a bass line. It's kind of like a love song. What do you think about that?" And I'm like, what do I think about that? You know, thankfully I was on the other end of the thing. It's like, hey man, that sounds great. And I didn't like go, hey, I'm jumping around my fucking house going, how fucking cool is that?
Yeah.
But so it has put me in a position, but I do think those guys look at us when they come to Schecter. It's guys that are in bands. It's long hair. There's no fucking suits. There's music playing, and I think it's a different vibe. Which, you know, I mean, lots of guitars are the same. It's the relationship and how you treat people, and you know, I can say everybody that's been part of the Beauty and Chaos treats me as a contemporary. I sat on the sofa in our studio with Robin Zander, and I mean, I loved like Live at Budokan and stuff when I was a kid.
Phenomenal.
And Robin sitting there holding lyrics, going, "Hey man, listen to this line. How do you think I can do that one better?" And part of me is like, "Boom, what?" You know, Robin's treating me like I'm in Cheap Trick with him. And
yeah.
So there's these. I know that's not such a Schecter thing, but yeah, it's been great.
It's humbling.
I've honestly, you know, sometimes I find that if you're selling, if something is your livelihood, there was a little downtime where I really got over the guitar, where it was like a 2-year span. I remember going, I'm starting to hate this instrument that I loved. Why I'm sitting out here in Los Angeles, because it became not a job. It became something I was doing for income. Like I kind of lost touch with it, going, I don't, you know, we're doing guitars for hard rock stuff. And then once I started Beauty and Chaos again, it kind of relit this thing. Like, I love the guitar again. I love all the diversity and things that we do, the weird guitars and things like that. It kind of, it really jumpstart my love of the instrument again. And, yeah, it's I'm totally grateful that man said, I think you can do this, because I would have never, you know, I wouldn't have known what, like, if we wouldn't have got that first record deal, or what would have happened, you know. I mean, fuck, I would have been a carpet cleaner. I think I would have jumped off of a building, you know, something at that point. I've seen people really take it hard when their dream, there isn't that thing. So I may not be the guy on the poster, but it's still pretty close to it. And I mean, fuck, we have a extremely diverse artist roster. I think that's what's different with Schecter, is that a lot of companies like, oh, they're hard rock or they're this. I mean, we go from having like Morris Day and the Time to a Goth or Disturbed or Avenged Sevenfold, and then we'll have Cheap Trick and The Cure, but we'll have Papa Roach. And it's like, really, it's a wide swath of people and influences and stuff. And that still, after doing it for that long, it's still really interesting to me. And for probably 90% of the time, I enjoy getting up and going to work, that it's not like a chore.
Well, you do have a great team there. You know, I do know a couple of your co-workers and partners. Scum Love, he was on the podcast, known him forever. You have Adrian Villanueva. I want to give him a shout out. He works over there.
Great. So's Anthony.
Yeah, he's great with his new band Siglos.
But yeah, and Centurion's in that. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
it's
great
great.
people.
I
Did you
want to
realize
ask
that
you.
Anthony is we have kind of a running thing in some of our videos. I don't know if you've seen them, but the ones with the horse head, we have this every couple of videos. We have this horse head mask that kind of appears, either runs across the street,
Nice.
screen in the audience. That's Scum. That's Anthony.
Okay, awesome. That yeah, that and I want to ask you, um, as the president of Schecter and being a part of a major corporation, what is that like when you have to be who you have to have that corporate attitude, you have to be business like, but yet you're a gothic artist, your music is so the opposite. How do you blend the two?
I really hope that there's not a whole lot of corporate in it. I pretty much wore what I'm wearing right now to work. It like I know what you're getting at. There is a business side of it. It has to be profitable to keep everyone employed. We're dealing with shit now with tariffs, and it's just. I mean, it is a business, and thankfully, I've made more right decisions than wrong. Thankfully, again, Mr. Shibuya, that let me kind of do it, and learn from my mistakes. Yeah, I don't know. I never look at it as corporate. It gets corporate when I'm going, oh, fuck, we got to meet with these people from a bank for a line of credit. But I don't change who I am. Most of them, they'll come over in a suit. They're like, in my office, which has guitars everywhere. It has New Orleans Saints memorabilia. I used to have my two big poodles there. Now we just got a new little golden retriever, Maverick. We have dogs at Schecter. We have a cat in the studio.
You're so modern.
It's like I don't want to try to pretend. I think I see through people that pretend, and I won't let us be fake or anything. And I think that's worked for us.
So you've never had to bite the head off of a pigeon and throw it on a table to secure a loan.
No, you have to do the dance or something like that. But I don't know. I think you usually find that, at least thankfully, I found that people do want to. They come, and if it's a guy or a girl, and they're like, oh, I used to date a guy in a band, and I used to play guitar, and it brings out this side of them that they look and they see the building and they see the platinum records, and they're going, I may not understand this, but it feels right, and these people seem genuine, and it just works. I don't know. I think I've probably used that phrase during this. It just works, or it just fell into place.
That's like your slogan. Schecter Guitars, it just works.
But it does, and it's Beauty and Chaos has been that, and I don't know if I wrote a book I could explain why it worked. There is, like I said, it's either luck or divine intervention, or a mix of both, and that's okay. I'm certainly not a fucking genius, or I don't have all the answers. I just get up. Sometimes I'll just go, what would my parents do? Nice. A lot of times that'll just give me the answer. How do I deal with this? I have to deal with employees and have to deal with conflicts between people and shit like that. And it's just like, that's not the fun part. But we get through it, and then it gets back to going, I look around and going, we're selling guitars. I was that kid that looked at it and cut grass in people's lawns and bought a $40 guitar and sat there and played, Iron Man on one string to try to learn. And now I get to do this. Most of our guitars have the fleur-de-lis on the headstock. It's like I get to inject my football team, my city into what we do. And
that's great. This is a good segue I want to talk real quick about Schecter Guitars and and the guitars themselves, and how amazing they are, how they come set up. I go to Guitar Center and I'll play a guitar to purchase, and I'll have to play 100 of them just to find one that plays good, that's set up with a good action, that's tuned. You happen to have a shop that sets up all the guitars, makes everything playable for your client, but you also have an amazing collection of guitar styles. Let's talk
It's
about
very
Schecter
diverse,
guitars.
but you mentioned like Adrian. I mean, we have a room, I think there's 13 or 14 guys in that room that are like Adrian, that are guitar players, that put their little signature, their little initials on the back, that they set it up. And as an element of pride that went in that. When we started growing from when Mr. Shibuya let me kind of relaunch Schecter, I mean, fuck, we caught that late 90s MTV where they would play bands. We had Papa Roach, we had Edema, we had Crazy Town, we had Power Man 5000. Like, suddenly all these bands were playing Schecter. I mean, that Papa Roach video, I give a lot of credit to Jerry Horton. He played a guitar we would sell for $5.99 in the Last Resort video, which probably has been viewed 10 million times. It's like we kind of caught the right time. We caught onto a rocket there. We had Sean and Jay from White Zombie playing our stuff, and Robert from Stone Temple Pilots. So that whole like kind of magical era of music, like before MTV belly rolled, was really kind to Schecter. And
well, because of Schecter and your client relations and the quality of your guitars, you have established quite a roster of endorsees, and
yeah,
and it's impressive, and it's also how you're able to create such amazing music with beauty and chaos.
I think, you know, because Schecter had a lot of those American guitar brands from the 80s, and it was Schecter included before I worked there and before Mr. Shibuya owned it, kind of got big and then crashed. We could look at Dean, Kramer, BC Rich, Schecter. They all got big and then just bottomed out. So when we started relaunching it, I mean, basically Mr. Shibuya said, run it like it's your own. And I took that to heart and went, well, fuck, if this company crashed, the first thing people usually do when they start getting any popularity and go, how do we capitalize on this? I get it. We can ship more and do less to it. And we just never did that. We kept the quality up. And I think that was a big thing for us to kind of grow. And I mean, if you look back at some of those bands, I mean, Jerry Horton has played our guitars since 2000. The Cure has played our stuff since 2006. Dan from Disturbed, probably 2008 or 9. I mean, people stay with the company, and you know they get thrown guitars. Like companies try to poach other people. We've never done that. I think that's ridiculous. I've been at concerts and see guys from other companies like trying to give somebody a business card. Hey, call me, I'll send you this. And it's like, that's kind of the slime ball side of the business. I've just never done that, and our artist relation people don't do that. It's people either come to us, it's like, hey, call us, come see if it's a fit for you. If it's not, hey, that's okay, you know. And I don't know, that whole mentality is worked for us, and as long as I'm there, I think we'll keep that mentality. And I have no thoughts of stopping. As long as I enjoy it, I mean, I'll continue to do it. I love the people that work for me. I love the bands. I love
the quality
seeing
speaks for itself there.
I like to think so. And there is that element of us doing something and it coming back from the factory or see it being made, like this thing you kind of see in your head and kind of sketch on a piece of paper really rudimentally, seeing it turn into something finished. It's kind of that same rush that I kind of describe with Beauty and Chaos, like somebody sending a song back. It's just like, wow, there it is. And that's a high that I've never got from, drug, sex, anything. It's something that's actually pretty unique.
I think that's incredible and incredibly inspiring. I want to ask you, because we sort of follow through on these questions towards the end. You have the ability to inspire so many people in your position. What do you advise for kids who are aspiring to become musicians, guitar players, and even, if somebody wants to be a dancer or somebody, an engineer? How do you keep kids in focus and inspired
What
today?
words of advice would you give for somebody who's an aspiring musician, artist, or maybe even trying to have their own company someday?
I think it has to be real. I think if you try to do something and it's not inside you, like if you just read it in your book or if somebody tells you, I think you should do this. I think you have to love it and you have to be okay with failing and then getting back up, uh, and just continue. It's not anything that's easy usually isn't worth doing. I don't want to sound like a fortune cookie, but I think it has to be real. And I say that a lot, but it's got to be from the heart. And like I said, I never became the rock star. That's what I wanted, but I kept going. I kept writing songs. I'd like to think I've gotten better at it. I was never a natural guitar player, and I think looking back to some of what I grew up with was, Johnny Thunders and Mark Bolan and Mick Ronson, like these guys that weren't technical. Maybe that stunted me in a way, but I sometimes I look back and go, okay, well, fuck, if I would have started by listening to Pink Floyd and trying to be David Gilmour or Jimmy Page, maybe I wouldn't have my own sound right now. I think that limitation became a positive thing for me. And I think if you're going to go into something, go all in. Don't get caught up in social. I didn't have to do it with social media. I didn't have to give a shit how many likes somebody said or didn't. Our likes were how many people came to the show or, how many records we sold, and even that didn't matter. If you touch somebody and you get a kid coming, like when we play Mexico with Human Drama, somebody can barely speak the language but has tears in their eye, how a song that maybe they don't even understand all the words moved them. Fuck, that's a reward. That music is an art. It is making art. So whatever you get into, make art. Like
That's awesome.
Make it for you. And
Beautifully
if
said.
others come along, then so be it. But at the end you look in the mirror at the end of the day, and if you're happy, give a shit what other people say or think. You know yourself, and just be honest with yourself and be real.
Incredible. Thank you for that.
And you're still a rock star in your own right, by the way, because I'm sure everybody who works under you is like, yeah, that's our rock star boss. And you're up there with everybody who's important. You don't have to be the poster face for something to be a rock star.
I thought you would go, you're a rock star in your own mind. I still dress up and, sometimes I go, wow, but I think if you watch some of our videos, some of them are deep and moody, but then some of them like Holy Ground that we did with Patrick Mata, and they're just fun. It's just like that video when I talked to you about Scream when we moved out here. I had met Patrick when he was in Community FK, and we both decided, let's do a video that was a throwback to when we used to go to Park Plaza Scream, in the lights, in the smoke, and we had the girls in the front, with the makeup and dancing, and we were just being goofballs with big hair and eyeliner dripping, and it was just fucking fun. At some point, that has to be, it's serious, but there has to be an element of, like, we are playing guitar. You know, we are. It's like, look at this. This is, after all these years, this piece of wood with 6 strings still is fun.
Michael Ciravolo, it's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast and this deep conversation. I do want to thank you very much for being on this and spending some time with us.
Thank you for honoring us with your story.
Thank you guys for taking the time. I take none of this for granted, and sometimes I get passionate and ramble, but I hope you got the questions you wanted. I sincerely appreciate this.
We appreciate this. We're absolutely humbled that you come on. Last question: What's next for Beauty and Chaos? What do you have in the near future?
We just released last week, June 18th, which was my late mom's heavenly birthday. Our last video, Made of Rain, the acoustic version with Ashton and Whitney, and Michael and I are in the studio. We have 5 pieces of music. A couple of them have been put out with 2 singers, and I'm really hoping for studio album number 5 early the first part of 2026, and I'm thinking it's going to be called what was it? Earth, Air, Water, Fire.
I love it.
So I usually stick with the first thing that comes in my mind, and that's where we're heading.
Will there be a pentacle or pentagram somewhere in it?
No, I stay away from that, but it's just going to be elements, elements of what we're all with, probably no upside down crosses either.
Well, you know what?
Fleur-de-lis.
Well, we'll be there. We do have another project in the works with Michael Ciravolo. Stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for coming on this podcast. You are watching.
Thank you.
Hey, wow, what an honor. You're watching the Candlepower Hour. You're listening to the Candlepower Hour on ElectraCast.com. Thank you very much, everybody. I want you all to have a very good day, week in this negative world. Let's stay positive together, and peace out, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Amen. Take care, guys.
Thank you, brother. Sit, Lulu, sit.
Powered by
ElectraCast.